Hey guys, let's talk about tonight's episode of The Walking Dead, and we get the follow up to Darryl and Carol's journey to try and find Beth. And we realize now who Darryl comes through the bushes with when Michonne finds him 2 episodes ago. And it's Noah. And Noah was the boy who Beth helped save from the hospital. And we get some very interesting scenes with him, Darryl, and Carol. So, what I found in this episode was we had a lot of continuing conversations between Darryl and Carol about how they've changed, how this world has changed them, that basically they have to start over and that it's all about trying to start over. I found like some of the conversations a little repetitive. First of all, these guys don't really talk a whole lot, but when they do, a lot of the conversations seemed very much similar to what we were getting from them when Carol met up with them after the whole terminus. And I found like I wasn't super intrigued in everything that they were saying because it kind of felt a little bit like we'd been down this road before. We already know that Carol feels horrible, and she's changed tremendously from when we first saw her as the abused wife with her daughter. And now, she's really fierce, and she was even willing to take off from the group when they were at the church because she, like she said, she doesn't want to see everybody. She wants everybody to live. She doesn't want anybody to die, but she also doesn't want to witness it. And I think she's basically over it. She's over watching all of her friends die. So she was going to take off, and that's when they see the car that has the cross on the back, and Darryl and her get in, and they try to track down Beth. We also had some snippets of where Carol had been from when she was booted from the prison, and then she sees the prison up in smoke, and then we see another shot of her, standing over the burning bodies that she burned when she was at the prison, and then we see shots of her in the forest, when she sees the smoke from Terminus, and so we see a whole lot of snippets of her as to because she was missing for so long from the group. And one of the things that you can tell between Darryl and her is that they have a connection, and they've both changed a lot. Like she said, Darryl was like a kid when she first met him, and now he's a man, and she ultimately has changed from that woman who would cower in a corner from her husband to a woman who looked like she was willing to go and kill Noah when he tried to steal their weapons. And I will say that Noah started off as a character that I was, very sympathetic to. And then in this episode, I was like, but I get it. He has to basically come out with full force. Because like we said, it's no longer, it is about the zombies. You don't want to get overwhelmed by them, like by the mass numbers, but it's how do you take over from the humans? And again, he doesn't know who Darryl and Carol are. He has no idea if they're nice or not. He just goes up to them and is like, give me your guns, give me your bow. Like, he's just on the attack because he needs to survive and he needs the weapons to be able to do so. And then he, lets out the zombies that were in this tent, and he lets them out on Carol and Darryl. And it's like, dude, not cool. And obviously later on when they see him again, he's in dire straits and he needs their help. And Daryl's like, kick rocks, and he's ready to peace out. And Carol's like, come on, let's help him. And they do. And then they find out that he knows Beth. He knows where the hospital is. And now they're set off to obviously go and help Beth. But before they can do this, they know that the people from the prison, the cops, heard the gunshot, so that they're going to be trying to find out where that noise came from. And as they're running from building to building, Carol gets clipped by the car, and this is how she ends up at the hospital, where Beth sees her coming down in the gurney. So Carol gets hit by the car. Noah tells Darryl, that they're going to need some people to get her out because they've got guns. They've got people that will go up against them. And then of course Daryl's like, well, so do we. So they take off in this truck, and obviously they're headed back to the church to go get Rick and Michonne and Carl, who I'm sorry, 3 episodes away from them and I'm done. Okay, I need to see them. So as much as I like Darryl, And as much as I think Carol has transformed into this really kick-ass character, what I really sign up for every week is to see Rick and Michonne. And I haven't seen them now in 3 episodes, and that kind of sucks. But I have a very good feeling that we're going to see them next week. So there were a few scenes that were pretty cool in this episode, and that was when, for whatever reason, Darryl felt that they needed to go to this truck that was basically hanging off of a guardrail, and I get it. It had the cross on the back, so they wanted to find out what was inside the van. And they get in, and the car's on a tilt. It's like faces facing down, and they get swarmed by zombies, and they end up strapping themselves in with the seatbelt, and the zombies are pushing on the truck, and they keel over, and that was kind of intense. I mean, we already know that Darryl survives because we saw him 2 episodes ago coming through the trees, but it was still intense anyway. So I really enjoyed that scene, and just all the scenes where they're weaving through all these buildings, and they have to figure out how many zombies are inside, how they're gonna kill them. Like, all that kind of stuff is still pretty cool, and there's that element of suspense which always works really well. And then I like that scene when they ended up in like that executive's office, and that this is a place where Darryl really never would have been in life, because that is just not the path he was on. So to see him in that executive office, being as powerful as he is right now, like Carol said, being a man and taking charge and taking charge of all of his group and protecting people, to see him in that executive office looking at this painting that was probably thousands of dollars, you kind of just like you tip your hat to him, because that if he really wanted to, he could have been that person in that executive office, because he could pretty much do whatever he wants. And that's one of the things that I really like about the growth of Darryl, is that we've seen him become this very caring, very responsible person and a leader. And I like that scene between him and Carol in that office, and I thought it really worked. Again, I did find some of the conversations between Carol and Darryl a little repetitive. It was interesting to see Noah come into the mix, what kind of a character he turned out to be when his back was up against the wall, and where he felt like he needed to push forwards to survive. I think he went back a couple steps in my book for liking him, but I obviously feel like he is the person that we met in the church, in the hospital, more than he is the person that held Darryl and Carol up at gunpoint. So we'll see what happens in next week's episode, when I'm sure that the group will all be working together to try to get Beth and Carol back. All right, guys, let me know what you thought of this week's episode, and I'll see you next week.